When you lead the country in crime stats for 4 straight years for cities with a population of more than 10,000, people will start to take notice and talk. Many residents I spoke to were not happy with some of the media coverage the city was getting. Now, not only were stations from Lloydminster and Saskatoon covering this, but CTV National was also interested. Here now is more on the CTV National story that aired in October.
From the outside looking in, the city of North Battleford is clean, progressive. Another community benefiting from the Saskatchewan resource boom. You have to look closer to see the scars. A gang war, a fight over the lucrative drug trade, crack cocaine, a turf war that has spilled into the streets where many people are suddenly afraid to leave their homes at night.
I'm more careful, but there's a lot of people that don't have the capacity to take care of themselves in a situation, the old and the young.
North Battleford has struggled with crime for years, due in part to a large transient population. Up until now, the crimes mostly property damage, break and enters, but in the past 2.5 months, violent crime has surged.
2 separate drive-by shootings, as well as a homicide.
Sergeant Darcy Wolfett is with the Battleford's RCMP, the largest detachment in rural Saskatchewan. This year, it grew again, 5 additional police officers to handle the workload.
Gang activity, it comes and goes. The area of concern for us is the offenses that are involving firearms.
Some residents have gone online to voice their fear and frustration. North Battleford Victims of Crime, a Facebook group now 800 strong.
I do not deny that there is crime exists in the city of North Battleford.
The mayor says he's listening.
When we talk about crime prevention strategies,
this meeting, organized by police and municipal officials, the first steps towards a city-wide neighborhood watch program.
We should have been doing this 5-10 years ago, and maybe we wouldn't be in the position we are now.
The mayor said the meeting is an effort to take back the city, a city he says is threatened. Some neighborhood watch groups have already formed, new ones are coming. It's hoped the patrols will begin in the next few weeks.
Well, some people were quick to denounce the media coverage. Others welcomed it. But regardless of where they stood on the issue, residents knew something needed to be done. Fighting crime takes more than just the police force in City Hall. It takes the effort of every man, woman, and child in the city.
In the shadows of the North Battleford Water Tower sits the Knights of Columbus Hall. And on this night, it's host to what is called a community wellness meeting. There are more empty chairs than people, but the city was hit by a brutal blast of cold weather, and it was on the Friday of the Remembrance Day long weekend. But despite the attendance, those who came out all had one thing in common: to try and make North Battleford a safer community.
Is there a way to streamline the process of calling, like the RCMP, to get help? I find that there's been times that I've called that it takes so long for them to take my information and to process me that the situation I'm calling about doesn't exist anymore.
Like, these people are trying to make a difference to take the gangs out of their community. Why couldn't we have contacted them and got them to, like the city should have done it, or somebody?
My own 2 teenagers that you saw here, they don't get into any sort of trouble. They don't wander around at night. If they're out at night, they're with me. You know, they don't get into any sort of trouble.
I feel very safe here. This evening, I walked here 4 blocks. I walk everywhere. And just as in the big city, I am cautious. I watch. I always have my phone near.
We have to look at this as a whole community. We can't start, we're reacting to a really bad summer, one of the worst ones we've ever had. We can't forget that the gangs and the things haven't gone away. It's not going to go away.
Stephen CORMONS organized the meeting. He's lived in the community for 30 years.
I want to retire here, and I'm getting close to that age, and I want to feel safe and comfortable.
He says for crime to be resolved, it requires more than just finger pointing and laying the blame elsewhere. Here, residents spoke out, eager to share their stories and their ideas with one another. Now, it's just one other way for those in charge to be able to hear the concerns. Now, in attendance were members of the RCMP, Mayor Ian Hamilton, and representatives from social agencies.
We all know what the problems are here. We don't have to beat that dog to death anymore, but it is about finding solutions.
LORRAINE Dean made sure she spent her Friday night at the meeting. Born and raised in North Battleford, she moved to Kootenai for a few years before making her way back to the city. She says she's not happy with the direction this town is going.
You said during this meeting that you didn't feel safe.
No, I don't.
And why is that?
Just, I think because of everything that's gone on and because of my own personal experiences. Just constantly being accosted downtown. I do admit it has been better the last couple of months when I've been downtown. Previous experiences have not been good when you've got people constantly coming at you. There was a lady that was stabbed in the Royal Bank by the ATM machine. I know her. That scared me. My husband works in the Royal Bank Tower, and I worry all the time.
LORRAINE says her vehicle has been vandalized 9 times in the past 12 years. Now, from her experiences and others, she says it makes her think twice before heading out anywhere alone. But that's where the meeting comes into play. She says she can get this off her chest and learn more about what is going on in her surroundings.
But I'm glad I came because it's a lot of information. There's a lot of things going on that I was not aware of. And I'm glad I came.
Guy Turcotte was a guest speaker at the event. Now, he wouldn't give up the chance to talk with other residents on the situation in North Battleford and to pass along tips.
We have to be observant. Anything out of the ordinary, report it. And I find a lot of people aren't reporting what's happening. People going through your vehicles. Small vandalism. Just for the simple fact that there's not a lot the RCMP can do about it, but we have to let them know. Because where's that going to show up? That's going to show up in the crime stats.
A staff member from the North Battleford Hub program was in the audience. Now, armed with pamphlets, he wanted to make sure people knew there were services out there to help those in need. Now, according to Hub, the purpose of their program is to address community safety and wellness issues by enhancing services to those at elevated risk and to develop strategies to resolve issues as fast as they can. 8 different agencies meet twice a week. They are the City of North Battleford, Prairie North Health Region, the Kanawayamik Child and Family Services, BTC Indian Health Services, Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Social Services, the RCMP, and the Living Sky and Light of Christ school divisions. Now, last year, the HUB program worked on 125 cases.
Some of the biggest issues that we have at that table are truancy and parenting, housing issues, poverty issues, mental health issues, addictions issues, and education or lack thereof. So these are the kind of cases that we deal with every week.
Despite its small attendance, the message heard here was clear.
Everybody has to take a part in the solution. You can't just sit back and expect a few people to fix it for you.
Well, coming up,
a lot of our youth in this community seem to feel like they don't have a lot of people to talk to or to turn to. They don't have that safe place where they can connect with somebody.
We take a look at how reaching out to children can break the cycle of violence. Stay tuned.
North Battleford is home to many young families. It has a larger population of children under the age of 18. And in a small town, sometimes children who feel they may not have enough to do can sometimes get in trouble. That's why it's important for children outreach programs to get to these kids before they get led astray.
We catch up with Nicole, FIDELAK, and a few members of her staff on this cold Friday afternoon back in December. It's quiet at the moment as kids are still in school, so it's the perfect time to get these cereal and granola bars prepped. Now, on each bar is a note that says "Let's chat" with contact numbers of outreach workers. They get handed out on the streets, the playgrounds, and anywhere else that young people would hang out.
The majority of the youth that we work with and see on a regular basis are vulnerable youth. So whether that means they come from a family that is low income, has substance abuse issues, violence in the family home. A lot of the youth that we see also have behavioral problems and things like that.
Staff at the Outreach Center work with kids from ages 5 to 19. The majority of them are vulnerable youth.
So personally, in your position, how does it kind of make you feel to see some of these kids who are vulnerable and in these situations?
Some of the youth we see, we know what their backgrounds are, and sometimes it's very hard to know that, there's, as long as they're not in any immediate danger, there's really only so much that we can do to help. So it's kind of personally frustrating and really sad. Sometimes it makes it hard to leave your work at work and not take it home with you.
Nicole says her agency lends a helping hand to those who need it.
What are some of the situations that you are seeing with these children?
Some youth will call at 2 o'clock in the morning and just say, hey, can we just go for coffee? I just need to get out of my house and have somebody to talk to, or I have something going on and I really need your help. So sometimes that ends in me calling the RCMP and doing all of that sort of thing. But that's a pretty common phone call that I get.
The work being done at Concern for Youth is important. If staff can reach these kids at an earlier stage and work on any behavioral or underlying issues that may lead them astray, it will eventually pay off in the long run.
A lot of our youth in this community seem to feel like they don't have a lot of people to talk to or to turn to. They don't have that safe place where they can connect with somebody. And our staff, our outreach staff, really provides that for the youth that have those types of feelings. So they can connect with our outreach staff, and they kind of give them those people that they can rely on and trust and build positive relationships with. I think that's something that's really lacking in the youth here in our community.
North Battleford is a town with a growing number of people starting families. And as I spoke to Nicole FIDELAK on the issue of kids getting involved in crime, she says there are many parts. While some are rooted in a bad upbringing, others may turn to mischief as a way to cope with boredom.
I think for us and the youth that we see most often, it's a problem of boredom. There's not a lot to do here locally for youth. I think affordability is a huge issue as well. I mean, while we do have the swimming pool and the brand new Q-Plex and field house here, and they're great resources, but they're not necessarily affordable for all of our youth.
Do you think you guys are underfunded?
I think as a nonprofit organization, a lot of us are underfunded, and it's not even so much that that we are underfunded. It's just that it seems like there's gaps in service that we can't meet because some of the funding isn't available. We do receive funding from the Ministry of Social Services. The City of North Battleford also funds part of our programming, and the town of Battleford as well. So we do get a lot of local community support and from the ministry. Any other funding that we need for programming or things like that, we do apply for externally.
Even the outreach center isn't exempt from being on the other end of criminal behavior. Nicole said that their vehicle was vandalized not too long ago. Now, I asked Nicole if she could talk about some of the in-home visits she and her staff have been on, but she declined to comment due to privacy issues.
Well, coming up after the break, the crime rate in North Battleford isn't only frustrating residents. The police force doesn't like the numbers either. Stay tuned.